guys, this is Nate, aka Crash, and you're listening to the KANU Chronicles podcast, Solocast, Drivecast. Just depends sometimes, but you're listening to episode 208, and it is Sunday evening, July 28th, 2019. What's going on? So welcome into the continuing podcast, kind of my own vlog in a way, podcast vlog, which audio vlog, whatever that would be called, I don't know. Podcast is a vlog, right? Hope you guys are good. Thanks again. I want to shout out all my listeners. Shout out to everybody listening on Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iTunes, Castbox. Thanks to all the listeners on Castbox, and also, of course, on Podbean. Thank you guys as well, and welcome in to anybody new that's listening on Google Play. We are in the Google Play Store, if you didn't know. So, all you Android users out there, depending on what you're using, I know that we're also on a lot of other apps. I'm not aware of everything. I'm trying to. But iHeartRadio, shout out to you guys if you're listening. But yeah, anyways, if you're on Android and you like Google Play, you can go to there now. You don't have to use whatever else. So just putting it out there. And I'll give you any other announcements of, any other new platforms I've become aware of or get a part of. I'm waiting on a couple things. So a lot of great stuff going on. So just going to get back into things. Also, before we get further, you can follow me on Twitter at KANU Chronicles, and then on Instagram you can follow me at GRTN8. That's Great Nate. And I want to also promote my new Instagram account for this Japanese wood block print art. It's a lot of words. Wood block print art. It's called 818 wood block print art. Just as I said, but 818, but you spell the 1 out. So 8 and then ONE, 8, and then woodblock print. So if you come to my Instagram, you'll see it from there. I have it in a couple photos. But that's for any of you guys that are into art. Just want to share that. So this art that I'm talking about, it was made by kids in Japan over 50 years ago. I don't know the exact date because there's no dates on it, but my dad got this in my late dad, I should say, R.I.P. to David. He got it in an auction back in 1970, we think. My mom said it was probably 1970, so either 69 or 70. I'm just going to go with 70. So he got this art. He wasn't an art guy or something like that. He just probably randomly picked it just because it was cheap or whatever he was getting in this, box of stuff. I don't know the details, like my mom doesn't know all that, but she's pretty sure it was probably random. But so we've had this art for a long time. It's like it's 160 pieces or so. Thankfully, it sounds like way more than it is a lot, but thankfully they're not framed and so forth, so they don't take up a lot of room. But I've had them, they've moved all over the place from being, out here. They've moved back east. They've traveled a lot of places, but I've had them here with me for many years now. And, I just constantly didn't know what to do with them for a little while. And it was probably just a couple years ago it kind of hit me what I wanted to do next. And obviously with Instagram and all these things, it just became clear, like, I just need to get these scanned and I can start sharing them. So I got them scanned with the photographer, with the, shout out to Umiko. I think it's Umiko. But shout out to Danny. He helped me out with this. He has he deals with photography and scanning and all kinds of stuff for your art. So shout out to him. You could look him up. Or like I said, I'll have him tagged in some of the art if you follow it. So But he's local here out in LA, so it's only for anybody. It's LA listeners that would, need any services in terms of that, getting any artwork blown up or any kind of things related to that. Pretty much he would be a good go-to person. But he did a fantastic job. I got all the pieces photographed in super high quality, digital camera, whatever you want to say. But so now I just started this Instagram so everybody could see them. And it's not just in my house somewhere. And even for me, because I'm getting to see them again for the first time. Because otherwise it's like you kind of got to spread them out. I mean, I've seen them before, but, you see them a little bit, you have them, you look at them later, and then you forget kind of what you have. But now, having something like this, I'm really getting to enjoy it, along with everybody else that's getting to look at them. So, really happy about this, guys. It means a lot to me. Just, partially, obviously a family thing, having this stuff for so long and nobody really knowing what to do or whatever. My mom did sell a couple pieces. I don't know how many. I don't think it was that many, like a handful. Years back, she sold to a friend who was, she was into art and antiques and stuff, but thank God that we kept them, and I didn't, hurry up and try to sell them off to somebody, so it's one of those rare situations where procrastination somewhat pays off. But that being said, guys, I'm just, some of you out there may have something similar. Maybe you have some art, or if you have some amazing photographs, but they're still negatives, you haven't scanned them, but they might be of some value historically, or, you never know, especially anything war-related. Somebody's dad had, come from the war or whatever. Sometimes people have stuff like that. That's very common. But I can't tell you enough. Go and, if you can't do it yourself, or you're just too lazy to do it, don't keep waiting. Go pay somebody to do this for you. It's well worth it. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but even if nothing comes of this and I don't make any money off of them, I'm still very thrilled to have done it, because now I can share with people. It's not something that's, like I said, that's more, I feel, especially now with all these things we have available, it's like, I think, why not share as much as you can out there? You know what I mean? That's really what it's all about. And some people might have different ideas about that, but I think it's just the way to go. No reason to miser and hold on to your stuff, or put too many barriers up. It's stuff we all can do, where you overthink it, and you're kind of basically wasting time, and you think you're being a perfectionist or being smart, but you're not. We don't have time for that. Just get your shit out there. There's so many people with amazing stuff out there. You're not the only one. So I wouldn't, I think it's not worth, not getting those things done. That's all I got to say. So, hopefully if this maybe gives somebody an idea, I'm just in the beginning of this kind of journey, so I'll let you guys know more as we go along. But this first week has been fantastic. Got decent amount of followers. I think got about 40 followers already, and I could see there's people from over in Japan now that are seeing them and everything. And the other hope with this is to possibly connect with the kids that are now adults, much older adults now. If I'm just really hopeful that one of them will see it somehow, and be something, and it'll be something they'll really appreciate and be like happy about. That's one of the things I'm hoping for. That'd be pretty cool. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay, because other people are, like I've already seen, people are already enjoying it and have a lot of good things to say. So yeah, I'm just really happy, guys. It's fun. It's given me something new, and it's making me learn more about this art, as well as learning other art and looking at stuff. So it's good. It's really good. So can't express enough how I think that I think no matter what you do, you have your work, you have your kids, you have your life, whatever it is. But the thing I'm kind of learning, or, it's not, I think we all kind of probably realized or kind of know this, you just might need reminded, but, I think if you can find something else outside to do that's positive, something with, like this, art. Maybe you're the artist, though. Maybe you want to paint. Maybe you never tried it, or you just, whatever. Maybe you just want to do some expression, or make videos, or do a YouTube channel. Any number of things that are kind of related to this medium that we have available. I'm telling you, I think it's definitely a healthy move. And matter of fact, because everybody's sick and tired of social media a lot of times, and I'll tell you, this is a way, I'm noticing pretty quick, if you want to improve your enjoyment of social media, I would say start some kind of account. Like, maybe you're a fan of arts. You're not an artist yourself, or you don't have anything. Hey, start a fan Instagram account of all the things you really love, maybe, or a specific niche. And you could just start posting that, and then follow accounts that are all related to that. Don't even follow any of the people that you know or anything. Just make a whole nother thing. And it's super easy. And I tell you what, man, I think you'd be surprised what kind of, I could see pretty quickly how much kind of joy or whatever you can get out of something like that. And you'll have just a better experience. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just gonna, share these things, guys. Like I was saying in the previous podcast, I'm focused now to give you some value each week, and these are the kind of things I'm talking about. So, and I want to keep you guys up on, some of these things that I'm doing, and it's not even just me trying to just promote or brag or any. It's really not coming from that place. I'm really coming from a truly a positive, attitude kind of place. More, like I said, whether you like what I share or not, it's not even that. That doesn't matter to me. It's just if outside of that, if it gets somebody else out there going, and make them maybe make a decision to do something and follow a dream, or any of these things I'm kind of talking about, hey man, that's all I can ask for. That makes me happy. That thought alone. So just letting you know. But otherwise, I'm not gonna really talk about much sports, guys. We're in the dead part of the year. Of course, training camps have just started for the NFL, so that's gonna definitely be something I'll be talking about. Baseball, of course, it's getting deeper in, which is cool, but, still a slow process. We still got a good month month and a half till the playoffs get going. So that's going to take a little while. There are a lot of games still to play. So, but yeah, I have nothing for you on the sports tip, and I know there were some fights and all that, but I'm sorry, this week I'm just not really going to talk about that. I might, we could talk about, some thoughts about sports not in season, NBA or anything else. But yeah, I'm not going to cover any activities that just happened. I'm just not looking at any of that. So if you're listening for that, and I'm sorry to disappoint you, you could, if that's what you want, you might want to go and find some other podcasts for now. And come back and listen to me, or continue. I'm not telling you to not listen this week. I'm gonna, we're gonna definitely go over some things. I'm gonna give you some stories here and there that I've seen online, or tell you about some of the things I'm listening to. It's going to be more or less kind of a recap and what's going on with me, or maybe what's going on this week out there in the news a little bit. So, just off the top of the head right now, guys, I had to just get this fired up so we can get it going. So if I don't, as you guys know, if you're a listener, I don't sit there and I don't really prepare for this like that. I just kind of roll off the top of the dome. But, yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. But, yeah, I'm finishing. If you can hear, I'm clicking away. I'm doing some work, finishing up. And, this is my Sunday to Monday is my little break. The overnight. It's the shortest amount of work is Sunday for me, so I kind of get to use it as a break. So, but it's cool, man. I've been, been on this crazy streak right now, doing a lot of hours, a lot of days, but I'm hanging tough, man. I'm doing pretty good. Last night I went to local bar. Speaking of something fun, something not work related. Went to a little local spot by me here in the valley. It's called the Norwood. Just a simple bar lounge. And it was cool. Just had a couple beers. Nobody there I knew. I'm not like some regular or anything like that. So, but I tell you what, it was fun, man. I don't know. Do you guys go out by yourselves? Are you afraid of that, or is it something that bothers you? I know not everybody's into that. Thankfully, it doesn't bother me, man. I've kind of always done it at times over the years. I do like. Obviously, it's much better when you have some people to hang with, but every now and then I actually end up. I really appreciate it sometimes just being alone, because then you could just do whatever the fuck you want. You don't like a place, you just leave. You don't have to ask anybody. So, but yeah, it was cool. Nothing real special. Just, jamming to the DJ. Hanging out. Just getting just something to break up, my monotony and not doing just the same old bullshit. So, got to do it, especially the way I'm working and stuff. I got to find those pockets to, make something fun out of the day, not just, I as you could hear, I'm a busy guy. I do this podcast. I got all these little side things I'm doing, and I like doing it. It's a labor of love, but you also got to stop and get out and live too, because I end up on the computer a lot more than I probably really should be. But that's par for the course. Whether it's the computer or the phone, everybody's on some digital shit these days. Fuck crack. Fuck crack. It's smartphones and tablets and all this shit. This is the new crack era. It's just digital. Digital crack. In the form of everything you love, from food to getting picked up, not having to drive, to fucking getting little task done, or whatever. It's really, when you stop and think about how much we probably use if you're working in the, you don't even have to be that young. If you're working in the workforce and you have a couple, I don't know, you have a few things going on. I mean, most likely, if you stopped and thought about it, you'd really see how much you probably use your phone without even knowing. For email, to check your bank, and all these things that you're just taking for granted. You're just doing it from your phone. It's insane. But it's all what you do with it. So do some cool shit with it. Don't just If you catch yourself, like I said, I'm going to reiterate, I might repeat myself a little bit here, but, if you catch yourself on your apps and you're like, I'm tired of this, blah, 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 with whatever, Twitter or whoever, you don't have to do it. Stop. There's so many other apps to get into. Hey, stop and maybe learn a language. Get on one of those apps. If you stopped and think about what you really want to do, or something different, that's what I would do. Stop and think about it, whatever that is, and try to see if there's some app that's related to it, and start incorporating that. So that way you're getting, you're getting some enjoyment. You're not doing the same circle of bullshit. You're in control of it. So that's my mantra of this week. Be in control. Take control. You don't have to keep doing the same shit, and you don't have to do what other people are doing just because, well, that's what everybody does, Or just get off the fucking phone for a little while. Start challenging yourself like that, It could be hard, but, any little bit makes a difference. So, but, yeah, that's what's going on, man. Another thing, we'll talk about little movies. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is just out this week. I can't wait to see it. Made by Quentin Tarantino, starring Brad Pitt and Leonardo Dicaprio, I'm sorry. I got a story I'll share on him. I don't think I've shared on the podcast. My one-time meeting him, even though I saw him quite a few times, but I'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, this new movie by Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's based on, it's one of just like his other movies, there's fact and fiction going on there, but he basically recreates 1969 in Hollywood, and it's all centered in that, and, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Haven't seen it yet. We're supposed to go Tuesday morning to a local theater because that's about the only time I can do this. So I'm like, let's go. It's right up the street. Go see it, and it'll be a matinee, so it won't cost too much at all. But everything I keep seeing about it, everybody says it's great. They just love it, and they swear you'll probably want to see it 2 or 3 times. So definitely. Anybody that was from that era or likes that era, 60s, I think that's something people should, everybody should probably check it out, man. So it's one of the few interesting movies to me that have coming out this year. I know there's quite a few others. Yesterday I wanted to see, I don't know how that did, but I like that kind of idea. It looked kind of fun. Plus, it's music related, and I could dig that, but so yeah, that's what's going on. Quentin Tarantino, this is going to be his last film, supposedly. He's looking to start a family with his new fiance. He hasn't, I think he's just ready to kind of settle down a bit and, do what he wants, which he should. But he's saying that he wants to continue writing, so, yeah, kudos to him either way. Whatever happens, whether that lasts long and he sticks with it, or maybe in 5 years he goes, you know what, I'm doing another movie. Well, everybody will be thrilled either way. So, just big kudos to him. He's one of the few guys, in the last 20 odd years. Well, it's 25 years since Pulp Fiction, but what a career he's had. And to think this is only 10 movies, it seems like he's done so many more, but the way his movies are, they're so rich in the way they're done. And just a great job, man. Just what a phenomenal director. He really seems like a guy that loves it, too. He genuinely likes doing this shit, even with, I'm sure all the pain that goes with it somewhat. Of course, it's a lot easier when the budgets are good and you're successful and known, but it's still a task, and there's a lot of politics and all that stuff. But he's really done it his way, and people love it. Nobody really bitches about him, which is pretty amazing. Since he pushes the envelope so much, but he gets away with it, man. He's and deservedly so, man. But shout out to him. And any you guys, if you're young, up and coming, wannabe director, or you're into filmmaking, hey man, study that guy. I mean, you're talking for somebody in recent time. I think he because he learned from all the greats too and incorporated it in his work. if you're, any of these young guys out there, I would definitely point to him as a great reference. And, when you get into that, start learning who he was influenced from and go there too. So, I can't say enough about that. He still likes film, which is amazing. He still shoots on film and all that. Now, that may not be for everybody. I'm not saying you have to go and shoot on film, but, but I would say why not try it and learn about it and see how that is to really appreciate it. We should definitely encourage those things, I think it's really important, in the beginning or whatever, why not? The technology's still there. You could still find it. There's people that could still teach you about it. So definitely appreciate it while it's like that, because it's not going to always be that way. That's changing by the day. Guys are dying every day. Knowledge is dying all the time or not being used. And, when that happens, it goes away, and you got to pick up the pieces and try to figure it out. So I think we got to kind of try to look at these traditions and try to keep those going, in some little way or another. So just some things I'm, been noticing or thinking about, So let's see what we got going on. All right. Wow. I've already talked that long. Cool. I'm going to cut off in a little bit because I don't want to, have all this tapping going on throughout the whole thing. But, I'm trying to kind of be a little more smart about my background sound. Maybe some of you guys enjoy it. Maybe some of you guys like when I'm driving and you're like, dude, you should just do that, But no, honestly, I want this quality to be, I'm going, if you're going to call me podcast sellout, well, that's what I'm going to. I want my shit to be really on point, like all the best ones. So you're going to thank me, trust me, because it's going to be really nice when I get this little setup that I'm looking to do in a really short fashion. I'm not giving any timeline, but it's coming very soon, guys. So, you'll hear it. You'll hear it. So that's pretty much that. So getting back to it. So what you almost forgot about the Leo story. Okay, I'll tell you about the Leo story. So my first gig in this business, in this film side, I worked at a place called Post Logic, which is no longer there, and it was across the street from Capitol Records in a black and white building type setup. And in the same building at that time, this is now about 20 years ago I'm talking about, was Leonardo Dicaprio. That's where he had his offices. His mom was there. She was, I don't know if she still is, but at the time she was his manager. But she was his manager. And, he had a decent amount of floor space, I guess you could say. He was operating out of there. So he, I would see him playing ping pong in the back, with his friends. He always had the same group of friends around. I mean, now you got to remember, this was this was like 2 or 3 years after Titanic. So he just blew up real big. I mean, he was big, he was already getting there, but that was the huge, that was definitely his career defining moment in terms of saturation of, being out there in the world of movies and people seeing movies. So bona fide star at that point. So, but anyways, I don't have a big story to tell you or anything, but I did take an elevator with him. We ended up in the elevator. This is the only time, and I just said a simple hello and acted natural, and I didn't sit there and get all crazy, and nor would I, obviously it's more the ladies that's going to go crazy over him, but he was, nothing big. He said hello back. He acknowledged, and, we just took the little elevator up, and that was it. But he was bigger than I thought he would be. He comes off. A lot of people agree with me. They're like, what, you know? But he's a tall guy. He's got to be about 6'1" at least, and he's got a decent frame on him. He's not a scrawny dude. So that's the big one I took from it, where it was like, wow, you know, you just can never tell with the camera. A lot of times these guys are smaller, but he wasn't that way. But seemed like a real cool guy, man. I can't say otherwise, you know. And just like a lot of these, I've learned quickly, you know, in my experiences that a lot of these people I've run into or worked around or whatever, pretty cool, man. It's not all the nightmare stuff that people come up with in their head about celebrities, even though there are instances you hear about, you know, and there are people that are rude and are headaches to work with or whatever, but I didn't gather that from this guy at all. I think he's definitely a pro, and you know, I like that he really, like I said, I'd always see the same kind of group of friends, and it seemed like he really was real about that. Like he kept a tight circle and did it, you know, and he's been the same since then, you know, and it's just cool. But yeah, that's the extent of it, really. I don't got much more. I'm sorry if it's not super thrilling. But yeah, it seemed, you know, like I said, I'd see him all the time they'd be playing ping pong. His brother I would see, which they look pretty alike. He's like I would describe his brother at the time, I don't know now, but he looked like homeless Leonardo DiCaprio, just the way he was kind of dressed, which was seemed like it was a thing for a while, but you'd see a lot of these cats that would just dress real bummy, but meanwhile, you don't even know it, but they're like loaded, you know, but he kind of was that guy. But again, he seemed friendly too, man, so all of them. His mom definitely takes after his mom. I could see probably in a lot of ways. I think he was pretty much raised by her completely, but yeah, they definitely look alike and all that. But yeah, really cool, man. It was you know, it was a cool time, and you know, I appreciate it more than ever looking back. Like, wow, you know, that was something that happened, you know, that I got to, you know, be around a guy like that. So, you know, somewhat. I mean, it wasn't like I got to interact or anything, but still it was really cool. And I even got to help move them out when they moved out of that office, and I got to see some of his artwork that he purchased. You know, he was into, I forget the name of the artist, but a guy that was pretty big out of New York in the 90s, I think, did some really, like, I think the same guy, I'll send you in the right direction and you'll be able to find the artist, but if you look up Boogie Down Productions' Sex and Violence album, which is the third, I think it's the third album, or, no, it's the fourth, it's the last Boogie Down Productions album, 92. That cover, this guy did it. So if you look that up, you'll figure out the artist pretty quickly. But he had some work from that guy. Really cool stuff. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. You know. So anyways, I'm going to stop for now, and you'll be hearing me in just a few seconds. All right. Get back on, y'all. So it's your host, Nate. I'm back on. Gonna keep this thing going. Hope everything's good, man. So just actually cooking some chicken right now. Unwinding. It's late on Sunday, about almost midnight. Thank God I don't have to be up at work at 6 a.m. or something like that. I go to work 4 o'clock. I have to be there, so, you know, I got to get pretty much on the road after 3 o'clock. So it's cool. My Sundays are really good because at least I'm out earlier and I can get to relaxing and everything like that. So that's what's going on. And oh my god. So unfortunately, like I didn't say, but I just saw it just a little bit ago. But the Gilroy Garlic Festival, which is a yearly festival, I'm pretty sure it's still just yearly. Gilroy, California is near Salinas, Monterey. It's like in the country up there, outside of San Francisco. Pretty good amount of, probably about 100 or so miles from San Francisco. And basically a mass shooting happened. It's like getting shot at a farm. I've been there before. Not necessarily a farm, but still, you're in the kind of in the country or whatever. You are in the country. You're out there, like at Coachella. It's something like that. But it's more of a forest up there. It's not forest. Maybe not so much, but it's not a polo ground like Coachella. But no matter what, you're in a field. It's something that's so far from somewhere you would think to go and get shot up at and killed. And 4 people got killed, 15 are injured at this point. It's obviously just been happening, or it just happened, earlier this evening, I guess, or today. It was daytime, but yeah. Fucking A, guys. So, I don't even know how to dice it up or whatever, but it's just gotta. I wish this shit would stop, but I don't know. Man. It's just gonna keep going on. It's gonna keep going on, but I don't want to focus too much on that. It is sad, so I just need to acknowledge, though, RIP to anybody killed, and and anybody affected right now. I can't even imagine the shock. I'm shocked. I can't even. It's like you just run out of emotion sometime. Not that I could feel it, but part of me is like, man, you just get numb to it. Sadly, especially if you're, I don't know, man. That's how I'm feeling right now. But very sad to hear that. So let's move on and get into. I'll talk a little bit of sports. I was looking at the Steelers. Mason Rudolph, who is the backup for Ben, who knows if he'll ever get to play while Ben's still playing, but he has been looked at and considered as hopefully the guy that might replace him, which would be fantastic, honestly. So if he's just patient and everything, then he'll be the guy, I think that really is going to be the challenge to him, and so far it looks no problem. He hasn't been a guy that's been in the news. He's just under the board. He hasn't had a reason to, because he hasn't had a real snap in the NFL yet, I don't think. But, we'll see if this season, if it happens, or maybe nothing will happen. But I'm just happy as a Steeler fan. I think we got a really mellow group right now. I think it's cohesive. We're not hearing any bullshit. It's been nice and quiet. They're just at camp. Tomlin's signed an extra year. There's talks about that he's kind of just along with whenever Roethlisberger's done, he might just go ahead and get out of there. And I wouldn't blame him. Why wait around if you got to get let go, or just maybe make your own exit, But these are talks, man. I don't put a lot of stock into it, because you know what? It could be something he might have said to somebody, but hey, then you get into the season, you start working again, and you're not thinking that way anymore. You're like, no, I'm going to keep coaching for years. Just put me on another team. I want to keep challenging myself, keep challenging another player. You can't. You never know what's inside of somebody, even if they're. Look, Tomlin, by all means, he's already good to go. The guy's got plenty of money. He'll have no problem in his retirement. His family's set up for many generations, as long as, hopefully whoever inherits can do whatever they can do, bearing a lot of things, really, when it comes to that. But, yeah, he doesn't have to do anything anymore. Even 2 years ago, he could have already probably retired easily. Even earlier than that, the way these guys get paid, and he's a very shrewd, smart guy, so I'd imagine he's that way with his money. I know that he stays in Pittsburgh. He's very low key. Sure, he definitely enjoys himself to some degree, but he's very disciplined. He's a tight-lipped guy. I think he's somewhat, whether you like everything he does or whatever, he's, in terms of how he operates, he's pretty old school in his own ways. Like, I think a certain discipline in the way he goes at it. He's really into the process. He's an interesting cat. So that's why I'm saying I can't quite see him yet being the guy that's going to go on ESPN and become like somebody's going to talk. But maybe that will shift. I don't know. But let me tell you something. For Steeler fans that get pissed and Tomlin's got to go, they've done him like Cowher's been done, But I'll say, good for you, Steeler fans. You're consistent. It's just generational consistency. Because now the kids from now it's maybe coming up on grandkids from the Cowher era fans. They just, whenever you have these periods between Super Bowls, Steeler fans really start losing it, But it's good. That's how we should be. I mean, it's been a very strong franchise since the 70s. Once that was established, and even before that, they were always the tough guys and not a team you wanted to play or go play for, even if you could beat them. They've just always got that hard reputation. They're pretty much, to me, they're as football as you can get in terms of what football is. Like rough and tumble, beautiful passes, also all these different elements. They got it all. Now they may not be your kind of team, but that's to me what the Steelers are. Everybody's got their own thing for their city, and they probably will say about the same thing I said. But if you're going to be honest as a real football fan, you'll understand and go, yeah, you can say those things about the Steelers, whether you've liked them or you're mad at them for something or anything like that. They have a type of player and a personality. The way the organization is all these years with all these players, that kind of is what happens, and people expect it now. They all these teams are products as much as they are people and their teams, but it's a product you're basically selling to the public. At the end of the day, to get more mass consumption, that's how they're looking at it, really. So I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, can't wait. Football season's coming up. Want to really get into it more this year, not just be like, I guess that's my continuing mantra. Like I said, I'm going to do the work, do these extra things I'm doing like right now. Also, make sure to go and hang out, start making sure to plan things. For instance, I'm looking at concert tickets or tickets for anything. I'm not good about that. I've been really I don't get them when I definitely could have gone to probably at least 20 more concerts over the last whatever many years, So that's just a result of fucking around, So now it's time. It's like, no, let's put a list together, and you just start buying them, and then when you have the concert come up, you're ready to go. Because guess what? All you got to do is, if you're not going to make it or you see something change, you just sell the fucking things. It's like buying stock, essentially. So that's where I'm at. but I hear this chicken sizzling up real good. Nice. So excuse me for a minute as I flip these over in my broiler. Got these chicken quarters. Shout out to all my fans in England, the UK, Australia, Scotland, Ireland, if you're listening. And shout out to everybody else international. I'm not naming off every country, but I'm going to give you guys praise. Thank you. Ooh, excuse me. Whew. Got a little water here. Oh. But it is time to eat soon, man. I'm so hungry. I ate much earlier. All I had was a poke salad essentially, and I had like really not much of anything else. It did kind of fill me up though. Yeah, I mean obviously, and it's not good overall though. I should have had something else for sure. But I maintain. So about to get this chicken cooked up and everything. Let's see where we're at. Okay. So yeah, so like I was saying with the concert tickets, things like that. Yeah, I got to start I got to just start buying them here and there, man. Maybe just right now, like in the next week, I just buy like for 2 different concerts. Knock it out. One concert's a little expensive, the other ones are like kind of cheap, and just knock it out, and then you got them. You got something planned, then you're ready. And by the time you get to the night, then, the other stuff is cool. You're not hustling around trying to get the ticket, you're already done. And then, you get your Uber that night or whatever, make it special. Yeah, you got to do some planning. I'm definitely not a planner by nature. I have to work at it, but I've done it. I can do plans. I can do it. Just have to, like anybody, if you're going to do it, if you want to make a good plan, you just got to do it correctly. So, I wonder if somebody's going to come up with an app for that, which actually would be a good idea. So, putting that out there, if you catch that, hey. Anyways, I'm just rambling on, guys. Freestyle time, But yeah, it's a good night. It's a good night, even though I'm super tired and out of it. I do want to mention, as far as podcast this week, shout out to Joe Rogan. Check out the Cornell West Joe Rogan podcast. That's all I could say is check it out. He will make you want to pick up a book and get smarter, and all that stuff. No, it was good. There were some great little, some things I just got out of it. But for what it's worth, that's something I'm recommending. I say just if you're just listening to me, I mean, please come on. Nobody's just listening to me. I hope you have at least 10 podcasts you like to shuffle around with, or at least look at and go, oh, maybe I'll check it out. Yeah, I need to up my game, though. That's another thing this year. I think it's going to be a good idea, and not that I should say this, but I should, is as much as I like the comedians and certain ones I listen to, it's I need to break out and really explore, because there's so many people doing podcasts, and there's so many good ones, so it's I need to infiltrate a whole nother regimen a little bit. I don't want to get stuck in this bubble. I don't think it's good. There's a lot of different voices to hear out there. So, same thing with you guys. Don't just listen to me, and if you do listen to me a lot and that's what you like, hey, thank you. Go to ilovekanu.com/shop and purchase your shirts. I have more things that will be listed soon, so be on the lookout for that. And that's about what is going on. So, I'm going to stop this. You guys have a good evening. There it goes. Putting down the recording device here, so getting back into it, finishing up. We're going to finish up here on the podcast. You know, keeping them. I'm going to be probably keeping them a little shorter than usual. I'm not doing it real fast right now, guys. I'm just letting you know. But yeah, it's Monday morning. Just chilling. I should have already had this done, but I had a couple technical issues. I've tried to use my phone again, but it's been acting up again, so I got to just stick with this recorder. So again, all these things are going to be going away pretty soon. It's going to be, this recorder's been pretty much good. I've only had one problem one time with it, so hopefully that's not something else too. But the difference is I could switch out the memory on this one, so if it's I have options on it. But the fact that, it dumped a podcast is a bummer. It does happen. I've heard it from other guys. So, obviously, I'm sure the more expensive equipment, the more reliable. Which will be soon. I have a device I'm about to get. And it's going to cover everything. It's going to allow me to, plug in microphones and be professional. And it's going to be portable, real portable, so it'll be perfect for whatever situation, whether I'm here at home or I start going, we will start going. I'm going to have, location podcast, essentially. So that's all I'm going to say about it right now. But, so I just got to finish up here this morning. Excuse me. Woo. Thank you again, like I said, wherever you're listening on. I'm grateful. I got, like I said, the good news this past week. I got on Google Play. That was huge. I'm glad I looked it up. I thought I was on there. I don't know. I thought I was at some point, but maybe I really wasn't. I was confused or something. So, but it worked really quickly, the process of getting on there. So that's great. Now I'm just waiting on one of the other big platforms. I won't say who they are right now, but I really hope that goes through, and that'll be incredible. So got a lot of great stuff coming up. It's just getting better and better. Another cool fun fact, if you're listening to the podcast, I was doing my history over the podcast, looking at the what I've done. I started this in 2009, and I looked at it, and it was really like, wow. I basically have come down to the last 2-3 years has been the strongest, like consistency-wise. Everything else, it's like pretty sporadic, but it's one of those things you just like. I'm like, you could sit there and get mad and wallow in it, which I've done that already, but now I don't feel that way at all, just because I already know I'm in a good pace, and what I've been doing is, what I've always should have done. So, I already am on the trajectory, so I don't trip off that. But it does make you go, damn, that's a lot of time. I could have, I could have been way further ahead. So, but, there you go, guys. I'm just, giving it, putting it out there, being honest about it and stuff, and letting you know that even so, whatever it is you're doing, if you're in a similar situation, don't sit there and dwell on the things you didn't do and let that get in front of you or sideline you. Just get back on whatever you need to get done and just keep moving forward. Just figure out a way to do that. That's basically it. No matter how little it is, you gotta keep getting some stuff done. Get yourself in a situation, because it's going to take, out of doing that, that's where something amazing can happen, along with, you know, your efforts. So otherwise, yeah, you're not ready, and you're not going to get that blessing. You know, you got to put yourself in the position to receive it. You know, like, I wasn't going to get into the industry I'm in if I just sat around, waited in Pittsburgh at the time, and thought, well, it's going to find me, or oh, well, maybe I'll do it, you know, someday. And if I just kept, you know, kind of dreaming about that, or the worst part, giving up on it and going, no, it's too late. You know, I'm already getting too old. You know, if I started just trying to give all the excuses I would need to give, and I was definitely none of those things, because I was 21 before I was 22, so I was still good. I think what I did, though, I did kind of, because I was already living on my own for a little while, so I felt older than probably a lot of my peers, because I was pretty responsible. Well, fully responsible as an adult already. Like, I already been paying my rent, you know, held down jobs. You know, I know what it took to do all those things. I was definitely capable at that point. You know, I was probably at the point where I was that much more comfortable and able or confident, and you know, even with the jobs I had, I knew I could live on my own. I knew how to do things, so I wasn't worried about that. But I could see quickly that time was going to creep up, and that was going to hold me back. The longer, you know, I was going to be in a place, you know, I just could feel it. Like, I could feel it snatching me by the collar and holding me, you know. Obviously not literally, I'm just trying to dramatize it, but no, really, I felt that I was going to end up, you know, back there and not happy that I did that. But it doesn't mean I couldn't have, you know, obviously I could have still had a real good life out there and everything. I mean, it doesn't have to be negative, but, you know, this thing that I wanted and to go experience and all that, I just knew I had to go for it. So yeah, thankfully it worked out, and, you know, obviously it's turned into something much different than what I initially came for, but in a very good way, though. So yeah, that's, you know, that's all it is, man. You gotta just find the thing that needs to launch you forward with whatever you're doing. Because previous to that, I was going to go to New York. That was where I was going to go. I was going to go to school there. I had it all mapped out. But it was too daunting at the time. You know, I could have. I definitely could have. There was nothing really that the only thing I allowed to hold me back was a girlfriend at the time, and she wasn't willing to go, and it would have been beneficial to her too, because she was into cosmetology and stuff, and I was trying to encourage her. You know, we could both do our dreams up there, you know, kind of thing. And, you know, it was still at a time where you were able to still get some rent that you could afford, even in the city, you know, as a young person. I mean, it was going to be I would say if it would have happened, like if she was that girl and would have been like, yeah, we're going for it, you know, it would have been like, I'm trying to think, a good apartment back then would have been, let's see, probably $1,000 a month, give or take, for like a 2-bedroom. A 1-bedroom, definitely. I think most definitely, you could have got it for $1,000 or less in the city. In a lot of places in the city at that too. Like, yeah, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure I'm right. There definitely were, you know, increases in rent, but yeah, it was still in 90. Because I'm talking about right now, the period I'm talking about is 95. it would probably have been by 95 or maybe even 94, because that's when I got out of school. But probably, let's say 95, you know what I mean? But yeah, there was definitely some rents plenty of rents in those range. And then forget about it. If you were willing and you went to Brooklyn, which was still like people, like the people that really knew were starting to do it around that time, the ones that were really looking at it like, oh, this is way more space out there. I'm getting more for my money. The place, it's, they started looking at it like, well, it's so-called a bad neighborhood, but it ain't gonna be worse than what I have already. All those things, they just basically came to the idea of like, well, I guess I got to commute into work more, but that's it. But I'm going to have more room. I'm going to get more for my money and everything else. So that's when the earliest people that were so-called gentrifying. That's when I would say that's probably the very beginning around that timeline, about 96, 95, but. Probably people had argued even that earlier, I'm sure there was always some people that were looking towards Brooklyn and they were cool with it, they weren't like, oh, I'm not going to live over there. They're like, shit. So yeah, that was, so that was a time and opportunity, and I didn't, I could have still did it. I could have said, well, I got to go, but I didn't, I just hung in there and wanted to make a relationship work, and just too many things for somebody at 18, trying to live on our, live together on our own, first time for both of us, and not, instead of being right out of high school and getting into some kind of college or technical school, we decided to, what they call shack up, and it was partially good though. I mean, after all that said and done, it really was, because we did learn some things together with dealing with, rent and, just that type of shit. So I don't know. I don't really view it as a negative anymore. I'm glad, it's good that I went through it, and probably good with somebody instead of just, completely on my own. So, yeah, it was, it's just something I went through. So that was that. So sorry, I'm just stuttering here. It just gets me thinking about a lot of things in that time. It's just crazy. But, yeah, so that time, it just, like I said, it threw me off. And I literally did. I put my dreams aside. I was like, nah, it's not going to, it just ain't going to happen. It's too, whatever, But I still had, I had my interest. I still loved music. I still was into writing rhymes. I was, trying to, I was doing what I could to stay kind of connected. And while I was doing, working at a pharmacy and working at a dental office, I was doing 2 jobs. So it was kind of in a similar way where I was working a lot of hours. Something I've done a lot of over my career. Sadly, I should have been saving some more money in these years, but it's okay. So, yeah, I was making nothing though. I was making like, between each job, I'm trying to think, I was doing good for that time around there. I actually wasn't that bad, especially for a kid coming out of, just out of high school. I was only 18, 19 around this time. But yeah, I was making, I think my best pay was like $7.25. I think I was making $7.25, and I would get tips, for delivery. So I was doing pretty good. And then the funny thing is, as a dental assistant, I was making less. I was only making $6 something an hour. Crazy that they would pay that for a dental assistant, even if I didn't have the certificate and stuff. But it was just a boot camp for life, in that timeline. It really was. I had everything right there, which was great. I lived there. I worked next door, both jobs. So it was actually when I think back, it was really interesting. It's just this other life I lived. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, I did that shit. It doesn't, because it doesn't exist really. Well, the building I lived in still exists, but the businesses that they're not there. Well, one of them, they moved to the other side of town. Not that you guys sit there and care, but yeah, it's it's just different. So, but in a good way. The neighborhood's actually better than it was. Definitely, yeah. My old town now is Carnegie. Shout out to Carnegie. I never get to... actually, I should be shouting out Carnegie more, quite honestly. Which people will be like, that's funny. Anybody that knows Carnegie. But for real, though, man, seriously, I'm very proud to see how Carnegie's come along over the years. When we got there... And, it's probably the same for a lot of the places around Pittsburgh and everything else. But it was, just a few years after the steel mill's closing. So it was still it was coming out. Actually, we kind of came at the right time because the revitalization was starting to happen in the pretty much the late 80s, mid to late, it was starting to have that happen. Just wasn't that much, But it was, it wasn't, for being in a bad spot, it wasn't like really messed up or something when we got there to Carnegie. It was definitely depressed more. There wasn't, the businesses weren't all that. There was really just bars and, maybe a pizza shop. Couple little other businesses. My buddy's business, Hannah, with his workman's clothing, that was still going. That was an old business, but it was there. And, shit like that, real basic, you know what I mean? Probably, obviously, like a property guy, real estate, a tax services, stuff like that. I can't think of every little business that was there, but there was some shit. I mean, it wasn't like there was nothing, but it was just, pretty basic. And, it pretty much stayed that way. And then up until I left, it was actually thriving around that time. And then it got flooded after Hurricane Irene, which was doesn't really happen ever there. I think the last type of flood was in the 60s at some point. And I don't know if that was from some kind of hurricane either, but... and again, this was a rainstorm. It was just remnants of a big hurricane. But, yeah, it really affected the town. That was actually threw it off its course. Because I think, yeah, had you had no flood, I think it still would have thrived and maybe even been that much better by this point. But, maybe, and again, it was kind of good because it shifted some things in the town in terms of some businesses that had to go away, and now there's something else there. So they've recovered fantastic. I mean, it's not only new stuff, but now it's become more. There's little trendy places popping up and good eateries. It's got some flavor there now. It's not. It's not as boring little town as much. I mean, there are some legit things going on there, but of course, it's still very. It's not a bustling little place per se. You know what I mean? There's not like a ton of foot traffic. It's not like that. It's not the coolest spot in town, but there's places to go. So it's going to be cool. But we're talking. This is gotten to this point over the last probably 5 years, maybe even a little longer, but I would say within that time it's really been coming. So I'd say in the next 5 years it's going to be that much more cool. I think you're going to see some, it's going to see some more. It's just a matter of community involvement, and the more things that can, you can get some more activities going, But they've been, the beauty of it is it's clean. I mean, it's definitely cleaner than it was. It's safer feeling, I'd say. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot. It's come a long way. It's different from when I was coming up, man. It was, when I was a teenager or like a little earlier. I mean, it did at times feel more. I mean, now thinking back, trying to compare it, it's hard to really say, but yeah, no, it did. It felt more. A little more rugged. You had some, you still had some rough dudes around there, left over, like I said, left over from the steel mill era, the blue collar cats. A lot of, you got guys that were like already drunks and shit though, and then the younger guys like my age and maybe a little older, we had we had some wild kids, but not way out of control, but enough. But we made it interesting there. I mean, we made it, for ourselves, it was a little more city feeling at the time. I don't know how to describe it. It was just like, there was a little bit of energy there because there were a bunch of us kids at a certain age and in that period of time and everything else. It kind of made it like that. But I wonder, that's me thinking about it. I wonder how the kids, that are there now, how they look at it. But it's different. They're not you don't have those kind of kids really, like, we were more rough and tumble. I mean, it's a different time, but now, you don't see kids around, so you don't know what the hell is going on. But I think the difference would be, there's more structure available. Plus, like it or not, these computers probably save a lot of bullshit from happening in a way, because you can, you could do so much on them. You can watch your movies. There's enough distraction there besides running around the streets and stuff, which is all that was our distraction, to go out there and run around. And plus you had a lot of us that were, latchkey kids. We had one parent, or some were being raised by another parents maybe, or all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it was different time, man. So I know I'm going way down this hole of things. I was just talking about, getting things done and all that stuff. So, but yeah, just a little background and give you an idea what I've come from, where I was at. By the time I left there, 98, it was, it was doing all right. It wasn't, I wasn't leaving like, oh, this place is, the worst. No. It was actually, it was pretty good. There was good business going on. It was, felt pretty good there, it just was, to me, this broken record, though. It felt stuck, and it's still, you still get that out there, but then it was even worse. So, it was in the air for me, man. I was like, nah, I'm out of here. And one of the things that got me over, too, was I started working at a warehouse the last 2 months. I worked at Snyder's of Berlin. There's Snyder's of Hanover and there's Snyder's of Berlin. And they were brothers that split up the company over, they couldn't, they had problems, basically, like any family. But Hanover, those ones you'll see in pretty much across the country, and the Berlin chips you'll see more out that way. Which they're good too. I don't know why they didn't expand more, but I think it's just their what they have available to make them. They don't have as much property and so forth. But anyways, not to go technical, but yeah, so I did that. I worked with them. I started working in the warehouse. I was actually going to get a truck route real quick. I was about to do the jail and the penitentiary. And yeah, that was going to be my route, which actually was pretty dope because it's so, you know what I mean? It's 2 stops. So, yeah, man, I was, but it was just like, it was just bleak kind of set up, you know, that job, and the, you know, and plus the guys I'm working with, and I'm listening to country music in this warehouse, and it was just like, it was pretty bummy, you know what I mean? I would try to be up for it and be kind of pumped up or something, but it was just, you know, these guys, man, they were hard workers. They fucking, I think one of them was like a volunteer fireman. A couple of them, you know, did this stuff. They were great. They were good dudes, but like working too hard for not much, you know. And it was just like, man, you know. And they have these, and I just look and be like, I can't, you know, I can't. I don't want to do this, you know, or not as long as these guys type shit. You know what I mean? I was like, but you'd feel like. For me, I start feeling like, oh man, you know, is this what I'm looking forward to? I mean, these guys were already, they were like 10, 15 years older than me at least at that point. Trying to think, the next youngest guy I think he was like 32 or so. But he looked older, man. I mean, he looked like his late 30s, you know, like he was like 6 years older looking, you know, just kind of beat down. And it was like, you know, and for my age, being in my early 20s, that's like, I mean, that was like, oh man, you're burnt out, you know, this is done. And it was just, yeah, so it was a real like wake up call, like, okay, man, you know, this could be your future if you're not careful. But it could have been, you know, look, it was also not a bad job. I could have actually ended up right away I would have made that much more money for back then. It was going to be pretty good. I mean, hell, even that pay today for some people out in certain spots is not bad. But yeah, it was just not what I wanted to do, you know. And you know, the guys were real cool, man. You'd have a couple guys, they were like, yeah, man, don't, you know, basically give you the warning, you know, don't end up doing this shit, you know, do this, do that. I'm trying to, you know. There was one guy, he was really like that. He was real cool, and I forget, man. I wish I could remember some people's names, man, but. You know, I didn't have a lot of interaction, but enough. But he was always saying something like that, where he would say, you know, and he was just in his 30s. A lot of these guys, pretty much, I would say the oldest guy was like 50 something, and that was it. But you had a lot of people in their 30s and shit, 40s and shit. So he would just be like, oh, excuse me. He would just be like, you know, hey, man. You know, for whatever reason, and it's good, I just always kind of got a couple of these guys at different jobs that would give you this advice or, like, look out for you, you know, be like, hey, what do you want to do? Or what do you know, what else do you want to do? Are you going to school? Da-da-da-da. And I'd tell them, you know, or, you know, I'd tell them something like, yeah, man, I'd like to do music or whatever. Oh, yeah, that's cool, or whatever. I don't know if I did say that at the time or if I said something else. I think I was saying computers because I know that was kind of what I was actually really close to getting into, but like programming and stuff. But so this guy, you know, he was saying the same thing but he was like, man, yeah, don't end up doing this stuff. Don't get, you know, like just stay away. Just get right to whatever you got to do, you know. And it was really like cool that he said that type of shit. And then, but he was also like, I like that his attitude, he wasn't giving up. Like, he wasn't, just because he had that job, he was like, yeah, I'm looking into this and I'm doing that. I was like, oh, that's cool. So, you know, it's just people like that, man. These little moments and shit, it really, I still remember it. It sticks with me, you know, those things. So that being said, don't take anything for granted. Something you're saying to somebody might affect them more than you realize. Vice versa, those moments of your life, if you can remember or you think of that, where you have somebody tell you something that made you think differently, or realize something, or hear something that your parents just didn't give you. Hey, man, I appreciate that. And not only just acknowledge, like, hopefully you try to use that. You didn't just go, oh, that's cool, and you just move on, you know. So, but these were these moments. But yeah, so I left that place, you know, right away. I was there only like, I was there like 3 weeks barely. I was there real short, man. I know they probably, you know, I would love to hear the story of what they, you know, were saying after I left. Like, man, that guy came in, moved up, and got the fuck out of here. And it literally was like that. I fucking came in, I did the warehouse and all that shit, and then they were putting me right to driving, and then I was like, I'm out of here, you know. But it was the reason that I went so abruptly, because I was really trying to I was really trying to milk another. My idea was like 2 months, really. But it was right at that point, it was pretty much getting into September, so I had to like really pay attention, because I didn't want to get caught trying to drive in snow and shit as I was coming out this way. But really, when I think back, I don't know why I was thinking about it like that much, because even it takes a little while. Like, I would say mostly I would be fine. Like, the Midwest isn't getting hammered in November, you know. Anyways, so you know, I was looking at things like that, like, how long do I want to do this? And, you know, it's like there was ticking in the background. Like, I gotta go. And the other thing was, I had enrollment to get into for the school, so all, you know, for that to start happening right away. So I was really like, man, it was pressure, you know. I had a lot on my mind of, like, it was just gnawing on me, like, I gotta go, you know. And so what gave me that pushover is because they were messing with my check, and you know, they were saying it was going to be here at this point, and it wasn't, and it just seemed like they were fucking with me, even though I know they weren't specifically, but it just really was a pain in the ass. So it just put the heat on. I just got to that Friday where they were like, yeah, it's not here, after they said it was going to be there. So at that point, it was really like, yo, like, I had to get a conversation with myself, like, man, you're ultimately trying to leave. Like, that's really all you're just doing. You already have a place, your mom, I'm good on that. I just needed to get the fuck out. So I started counting up things and looking it over, and I said, I can do this now. I can do this right now. And so I just said, well, Monday, this is what I said to myself. And even if they were going to have the money, I was already that close to exit. I was just going to, maybe I would have delayed it another 2 weeks or some shit. But, you know, I was like, fuck this. So Monday I went in there, and they were like, you know, I go right into the lady. I goes, my check here? She goes, nope. I said, okay. And I took my stuff, and I go, here you go. I'm out. And that was it. And I left there, and I got right to action right away. Because now it's like, okay, you got to go, bro. You know, I can't languish around. I quit the job. You know, I mean, I could, you know, they could have obviously got me back on but, you know, I was already like, when I made that decision, it was like, there was no fucking around. I was out of there. So, yeah, so I did that, and I just got right to it, man. I think I was on the road I was on the road out here within the week, just days later. Like it was on. It was on. And shout out to my old roommate Ian, my good friend still, because yeah, we known each other before we were roommates too. So, but yeah, man, it was crazy. It was crazy, but it was good timing, man. Now looking back at it, like I'm like, thank God they did that, because it would have. I would have still came. That wasn't going to stop. Like I was already very committed to it, because once I found the school here, which I didn't put that in the story. I'm sorry if I missed some things. I wasn't planning to talk about this too much, but this was right, obviously, the early internet, 98. But my buddy Ian, thank God he had it. So otherwise, I don't know if I would have. I think I would have tried to look it up. I would have got somewhere with a computer, but just having a computer later like that, you know, made this like so easy, you know. So I looked up, you know, finally, you know, search engines are starting to happen. You know, just, you know, there's some websites, you know. So I look up schools. I just decided one day to look up schools out here, because my mom was already out here. So I already had this idea in my head of how to get out here, you know. I was thinking about trucking. You know, I was starting to really figure it out. You know, I was looking at what schools would cost if I wanted to come. You know, I was trying to get a overview so I knew what I was getting into, not just, you know, I wanted to also have other things to think about besides the music business, because I was like, I don't know how this may work out. I don't know. This school may be good, it may be garbage, or maybe I just don't like it. You know, I could end up being like, oh, I don't really like this stuff. So I was just really making sure, like, hey, let me know everything that's going on. So yeah, man, so that was all there, man. So it was just once I found the school, LA Recording Workshop. Now it's LA Art. It's LA Recording School now, but it was LA Recording Workshop, and it was right in North Hollywood, and you wouldn't even recognize. There's nothing left. It's a complete different area right there, but in a good way. I mean, it's really nice now. It was nothing going on there back then. It was that school, and there were some other bullshit businesses around the corner. But yeah, I looked it up, and it had I mean, it was probably one of the better websites for the time. I mean, it was a great website. All the information was laid out. I mean, whoever, them putting it together, they did it so right. Like, they knew there was guys like me all over this country and other places, you know, that were going to look for this shit. And we sure the fuck, yeah, because they even had international students. It wasn't just, you know, just specifically the States. And this wasn't a big school. This was, so that shows you the power of the internet already right then. This was like, I'm trying to think, probably you would have in a class, I think 80 people. I think about 80. I don't know if any more than that. Like, I don't even know if it was 100. It was like that tight. So yeah, each class was like 80, and I don't know how many students enrolled they would have overall, but probably 300-400 maybe. So it's a small school, you know what I'm saying? So you had to be, when some enrollment would happen, you'd have to really get in there. And I got in, but so I looked it up, and I'm looking it over, and I'm just like, I can't believe, it was like a dream. Like, I was like, this is crazy. Because the other school in New York, which was, what was it called? Institute of Audio Research, IAR. They were like the first to do this type of school, like the one I was going to, you know, the audio recording school. They were like the first to do it in New York City. But they were affiliated with NYU. They were already that much further along, so they were a real accredited school and everything. But
so their cost was pretty high. I think it would have been like upwards of close to 30,000 or something like that back then. So it was like, man, it was a lot. And I think that was because I was out of state, obviously. I think if I would have been in state, it might have been a bit less. I didn't explore how much I could have qualified for different things, but, it was still going to be pretty steep cost. Where this school, and this was a few years later, it was, at the time, the program was like, I feel like it was like $8,000. It wasn't even $10,000. It was super, super reasonable. And I was like, oh my God. And they totally had these different ways to pay and all this stuff. And they weren't fully accredited, but they did get grant, there was grant money to get. They did, they had their shit together. That was all good. So once I came out, and they had even nice dorm situation if you needed that, which I didn't. But it was dope, man. So when I came out, I got with my mom, and then I went and checked it out. Yeah, and immediately once I checked it out and everything, I was like, oh, I gotta go here. Like, sign me up today. Like, this is it, Very exciting. It was very exciting, and all of us that were going there had the same spirit, and that was that was such a first time, being around a group of people that were that interested in music like me, if not more. Just that creative energy, and and you had people that were just, I started realizing quickly you had kids that were just kind of coming from, well-to-do background, but they were maybe a fuck up, and they would get them, all right, go ahead, try this school, So you had all types, but there was definitely enough cats that were musicians themselves, or they were making beats, or they were, they were trying to do something. They just knew they needed to, make another move. But the problem too was this still happens, I'm sure, in the school, but they think that going to this is going to make them like instantly work with some big talent, and you're not going to have to do this journey. They think that once you learn the tools, like, you're able to go to the studio and actually be the mix engineer and whatever, and it doesn't work that way. And the beauty of it, they were very honest about it from the beginning about everything. They never sold it as, hey, you take this program and, yada yada. But what it essentially did is get you in the door. They already had the contacts and hook up, and that was always what I looked at those schools with when it came to trade or anything. I always looked towards schools that had a placement of some sort, I just think that those, especially when you're young and you need to get working and making some kind of money or get some kind of opportunity, I mean, I think it's, in my mind, I think you're best to get right to that first, and then perhaps you further your education from there, which I didn't really do. I still have taken some classes and some stuff, but it's the only other thing I would look back and go, oh, I would have done this and that. There's a couple things I would have did differently, but now the way the program is, that's not even an issue, because they have a way more extensive program. It offers so much more than it did back then. But yeah, so that's my story of how that all came together. So it was so fast. So you're talking, guys, I came out in September, right before my birthday, like a week before or so, a week or two. I wish I could remember the exact date, but there's probably some receipt or something somewhere to tell me something. I don't know. I might, but no, it's all good. It's not like super important. I know our anniversary, me and my wife, it's probably around that, really, quite honestly. That's the funny part. September 18th. So that would be really interesting if it was that exact day. But yeah, man, it was literally, I got here and then it was right to the races. And the good thing though, I did have, I'm glad again I came like that, because I basically had like a month of time of not having to work or whatever. I basically took a month off right then, and then not much, just a little bit earlier that, you know, in the summer I already was out of the country, so I was really getting to chill this year, you know, this particular year. For once, finally, I really needed it too, because I was out of school a few years already, so it was like, it was a good year for me to do some big changes. And yeah, it's basically what it worked out to be. So I fucking, you know, I got out here, even though I was hanging out, I pretty much, probably a couple weeks or so in, I looked up a job, and I saw this telemarketing gig, and it wasn't too far. I still didn't, you know, at the time we had, you know, a map quest or anything, but I figured how I looked it up somehow, and it wasn't that far. And I went and pretty much got the job right away, and I did telemarketing part-time for a few months while I was going to school. So, but like I said, it was perfect, because I pretty much, everything started like late October, November, you know, or November pretty much. But yeah, everything started with the job and the school. It all started like all together. So it was, you know, it was like, okay, here we go. You know, put your, you know, pull up your straps and let's get going. You know, so it was a big shift, but the job was cool. I got to. Oh man, here we go. Sorry. Hold on, real quick, guys. Give me 1 second. All right, thanks, guys. Sorry about that. So yeah, just to wrap up this story, yeah, so that's how it all went down, me getting here in the beginning. So if I've told this at some point before, hey, I'm just doing a better version of it. So, but yeah, guys. So anyways, I am gonna wrap it up. I've definitely talked enough at this point for now. But yeah, keep going. You know, keep going after whatever it is you're going after. Basically, is the message in this whole thing. You know, don't get discouraged if you take, you know, if something sidelines you, that's okay. You can get sidelined, but then just try to get right back on the track. You know, whatever that is. Maybe it's in your workout. Maybe it's with career path. Maybe it's in school. Maybe it's like simple things we're talking about. A little Instagram. You know, any of that. So keep going, and you know, I'll catch you guys again soon. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again next week. Peace.